Emma obviously talked about this yesterday. Horrible crash in D.C., the first one we've had in ages in commercial airlines. Somebody was telling me today, 150 million flights since the last commercial aviation accident.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.
There was one, I think, in 2009, but it's the deadliest since 9/11.
Here is Donald Trump up there taking full responsibility for this failure of the crashes. No, I'm joking. He is, of course, blaming DEI, which is another way of saying either desegregation or rollback on the Americans with Disabilities Act. Just basically, he's saying we don't have enough discrimination left. And now, let's be clear. There's little evidence that there was a particular person at fault that we know of at this point. We know that the FAA has been understaffed for a long time. We know that this week in particular, every single federal worker has been under an increased amount of stress. We know that the FAA chief was fired because Elon Musk didn't like him.
Because he'd been cracking down on SpaceX's multiple violations. So even before, I think, Trump had won, he had been railing publicly against this FAA administrator, and then the guy basically was ousted on Inauguration Day. So the FAA has been without a leader since Inauguration Day, and then we had the worst aviation disaster since 9/11 on now, U.S. soil.
That can just be a correlation, if not a causation. But the bottom line is there is zero evidence of Donald Trump's assertion here. But if you recall from the last time that Donald Trump was president, something goes wrong. It's definitely time to blame, if we can't say so explicitly, black people. We can't say so explicitly brown people. We can't say explicitly so women or gay people or trans people or now, I guess, also disabled people. We'll just use a couple of initials, CTR, DEI, whatever it is.
Have more to say about that. I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them, they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are...
Pause it. I just want to be clear. This existed on the website, I believe, when Trump was in office as well.
They do ask that he was asked about that, I think, in the Oval Office. Yeah.
And we can jump to that one in a second. But in fact, I think Fox even also had it on their website.
Yep, until recently.
And from the records we have, the FAA was able to reach its goals. It wasn't a quota, but they were able to reach their goals of 2% throughout its entire agency of people who may have some type of physical or mental disability or challenge, which, of course, the idea is, how do we set up a situation where folks who have these challenges can still perform the job at peak performance level.
But you're not being very fair to Donald Trump. He's really all about meritocracy. That's why Pete Hegseth is the defense secretary, having no experience in that regard, and running 2 small organizations into the ground and having all these allegations against him. It's why J.D. Vance picked Tucker Carlson's son to be on his press team.
Thursday, April 11th, 2019. Who was president then? FAA provides aviation careers to people with disabilities.
Go ahead. Keep playing.
I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target, and you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it.
Pay them as
Targeted
such.
disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway. The initiative is part of the
it's a little dot.
FAA's
Pause it for a second. Can you imagine little dwarfs running around trying to do FAA things?
They can't even see above the
DEI?
controls.
I like this fan fiction he has going on in his head. We're getting more information about who was involved, but the pilots in both of those instances, thus far of what we know, were both cis, white people. Same with the air traffic control person who was overstretched. And the idea that he's essentially trying to encourage people to go for a fishing expedition to blame these individuals and punch down
Because
instead
even
of
if there was
punch
a black
up.
one,
Yeah.
he would have been qualified to have been there.
Exactly. But it doesn't matter, right? They're just saying DEI is a get out of jail free card.
But this is a Doge crash, not a DEI crash. And Doge meaning like, we're not funding things. We are pinching pennies and not staffing up. This is not we're hiring too many dwarfs and people with one
All
arm.
these dwarfs and all the people at FAA are
one
unelected
arm.
bureaucrats.
Why'd you lose it?
Unelected bureaucrats.
Remember the crash
Really bad.
in East Palestine? That was also a result of
Same thing.
deregulatory practices and those freight trains skimping on labor and having the fewest possible people operating those trains so that they could make more money at the top. There is this efficiency fixation throughout a bunch of different industries, which is really about squeezing as much value out of it to go to wealthy people and making sure that they have the least amount of labor force operating these essential functions.
It's neoliberalism.
Let's play this clip where he's asked about that on the website during his administration.
The cited FAA text that you read is real, but the implication that this policy is new or that it stems from efforts that began under President Biden or the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is demonstrably false. It's been on the FAA's
said that,
website.
you?
No, it's on the website, the FAA's website. It was there in 2013. It was there for the
Take a look
entirety.
at what I read.
It was there for the entirety of your administration
Nice and
too.
easy.
So my question is, why didn't you change the policy during your first
I
administration?
did change it. I changed the Obama policy, and we had a very good policy. And then Biden came in, and he changed it. And then when I came in 3 days ago, I signed a new order, bringing it to the highest level of intelligence.
It
Okay.
was on the website.
Highest level of intelligence.
IQ.
Speaking of highest level of intelligence, did you show his tweet on Truth Social yesterday?
No.
The airplane was on a perfect pitch. That one.
Yeah, we got to pick and choose.
The airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach at the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on. The plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn?
Trying to make me look bad.
Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane?
Curious.
First of all, they did. I mean, they said, you're online. Get
They
up.
saw the wrong plane. I think is what happened.
That seems to be what happened.
This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good.
Yeah, that's a hot take. Bad situation that could have been prevented. Who is president right now?
You know, it's interesting,
Elon
though.
Musk.
It,
Oh,
it
right.
sounds
Thank
like
you.
with that, do you have that tweet? Yeah, just put that up. It sounds like to me, he thought at that moment that, oh, it's a terrorist attack and I get to be in charge.
Right.
It's too bad Twitter was not around 9/11.
It's ironic because the helicopter was flying on.
Hey, man, I'm looking at this thing. I'm going, hey, what that plane looks like it's flying right into not good.
The helicopter
El problemo.
was flying on what's known as a continuity of government mission, which is a secretive thing that has only been put into place like on 9/11 to make sure government continue functioning after a terrorist attack. So
El
a little bit of
problemo.
irony.
It's a little odd that they're even doing these test flights, like by one of the busiest airports in the country. And as I mentioned it yesterday, Reagan was supposed to, by the way, the irony of this being at Reagan's airport, given his deregulation of
Is it
Really,
busting the FAA
Patco.
union?
This is a Patco strike busting crash.
But it is like a complete. It's a consistent theme from like his vision of politics right here. But the flights, as I said yesterday, it was only built for $15 million a year, and now it's servicing $25 million. And you know what that is? In part, look, I understand air travel is important and people need to get from place to place, but this is also greed. Greed, and putting people in unsafe positions. And then, of course, the compounding effect of the chaos that Trump and Musk are causing with our like federal employees in these essential services. We talk about how it's dangerous when the government shuts down for a few days to travel because the flight attendants union will be like, we don't want to fly on these flights because we don't have any assurances that we're going to be able to land safely because the government shut down. People could not be showing up. It's a very similar situation that he just threw our air travel into with like his antics over the past week.
The good news is that we have government officials who are going to head down there and take responsibility and deal with it. I'm sure yesterday you guys talked about Sean Duffy saying like this is not standard operating procedure to have planes crash into each other.
We did
interesting.
touch it a little bit.
Here
yeah.
is Donald Trump talking about how when he's asked, will you go visit the site where we've had the largest aviation accident since 9/11. Well, obviously that wasn't an accident. Largest aviation deaths
disaster
since 9/11, and the first one in 15 years.
Families of the victims of the plane
I
crash.
don't want to comment on that.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of the
I have a
first
plan to
responders?
visit, not the site, because what did you tell me? What's the site? The water?
Or to meet with
Want
the
me to go
first
swimming?
responders down there?
I don't have a plan to do that, but I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously, but I'll be meeting with some of the families, yeah.
I'm going to have them come to Mar-a-Lago. I'm not going to go down there in a plane and walk to the
water?
and look.
He says badly hurt. Do you mean everyone was killed, right?
He said the family was badly hurt by, yes, the death of their loved ones,
okay.
including these young skaters. Like, we're still getting the information about it, but like, I know we're numb to Trump at this point. It's just, if that was your family member and he said, like, what do you want me to do? Go swimming?
I'm busy blaming black people.
What a
Hey, man, you think I'm going to go down and what am I going to do? Sit on a pile of rubble?
hot take.
There's no
Bad guy, Donald
there is no
Trump.
Twin Towers anymore. I'm not going to go down there and look at the first responders. You might want to go down there just to make the guys who've been diving for 3 days straight appreciate it.
Yeah, it's cold out. I've got to go swimming. I don't take my shirt off. Everybody knows that.
Well, here we are. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.